Hello everyone, welcome back to the day 3 for the Selenium training with C Sharp. We have taken a long break to come back to this, and I hope each of you have received enough break to go through the element identification, the basics of automation testing videos before we get into the day 3. So team, what we will do today is, if you remember last day 2, towards the end of it, we tried to save the uh, test cases that we created, but they didn't get saved. So we're going to redo that. Today's whole agenda is so that we visit back that element identification portion, make sure we get to understand each and everything once again as a good summary before we move forward into day 4, which is going to be very specific with the C sharp portion of it. And I also hope each of you had a great time through the weekend and the long weekend, especially in the US, and we're all charged up. So team, before I get going, I want to ask a quick question. How many of you, and there are about a few dozen participants in this session right now, I don't have a poll for it, but I wanted to ask you as to how many of you have installed the mobile app for the Android using the one which we showed you through Interact. So through Interact, we have created the mobile app for the Android based version, and I hope you all got a chance to install. So can you please say in yes or no, each of you, through the Q&A session of the chat, as to if you've installed that app or not? So I see one yes, two no's. iOS, not yet, not yet. Okay. Can you all make sure please that you've installed the app? The link was sent to you earlier. So that way you are able to get all the communication that we're sending to you in the mobile app. Second question. I sent an email earlier today, or rather a message for the mobile app. How many of you have received that saying that we're starting in few hours? You got the email, all of you? All right. It is important for you all to use the web version or the mobile app version, because that is the way we will communicate going forward, and that way you're able to get all the communications. Okay. So for the few of you who are attending this session for the first time, you have to go through the day 1 and day 2 to get an idea about what Interact is and how we go through it. So I get one feedback from the team. I'm getting a lot of messages. So for Indra was saying, I'm attending the class today only. That is the answer. So you please go through day 1 and day 2. It'll give you a good idea. Ayaz Ahmed, you're saying that your sales team sends tons of emails. I lost track of what you're talking about. So Ayaz, you're right, and that is the reason we need to get Interact into your application for the communication portion. So if you look at Interact as an application team, we have all the formats that you can take in. Right now, we just have the Android version. We do not have the iOS yet. It is in a pre-beta version, and it is a great candidate for us to also use to practice our testing using Selenium. In this, you'll see how, if you go to the website, it will talk about Interact briefly, what it does. It is important for you to get a good idea about this application, as everything that we will do, at least for the first couple of projects, will be around this application only. Now, in this, if you see, it talks about what the application is. It says how we communicate effectively between the trainer and the trainees. It is more of a broadcast, which is one way. It will also talk about what kind of challenges we face during the typical communication. And you'll also see the same things like Ayaz just mentioned, that we get so many emails, we get confused. So how Interact takes over that and gets you the communication directly into your system. We also have opened up a pre-registration for the beta version, and that is how a lot of trainers across the globe, including ITeLearn, are trying to get onto this application to be able to start using it for better communication with their trainees. And if you keep going further on this application, you will see how an institute or a training organization sets up the courses, it sets up the trainers and adds trainees to these specific courses, and how we send a communication message to each of you. Once we send a broadcast, you will see this coming through an email, and you will see how it lands with different categories into your email system. Apart from this, the final and most important step is the trainees. The trainees get an email of whatever alert or message we send. They also get a notification on the mobile device, which is only as of now for Android. In a week or so, we should be able to come back with iOS 2, and also they're able to log in into the web browser to get the details. Apart from this, you will also see the FAQs and about Interact on the website as of now. So it is not yet a launched project or a product for applications to use, but we are taking in the pre-beta registrations. So the trainers are able to get a chance to start working on it as soon as the beta version is up. So we as a team are together able to start to work on it on the pre-beta version, and we'll have a lot of opportunity to find a lot of defects through it. All right. So the concept was very simple. How do we make the best utilization of this tool as a platform to communicate? Yes, but more importantly, to understand software testing, automations focused more for Selenium with C#. And we will be going ahead with using this tool as a platform for most part of it. So now going back to our Selenium live training C#, I did do a few notes from day one. I'm going to give a quick summary of it, team. So this session, as I said, will focus a lot towards what we have done so far, how we've kind of come to this stage, and how we will take the day 4 and so on forward. All right. So we're talking about all of this portions in the day 1, and I request you strongly to go through those 2 videos to be able to get going with this today's session. We do have the IFT test cases, which is short form for Interact, and that's here. Manoj has also sent you the steps to install the Selenium WebDriver in Visual Studio. So this document primarily holds the key as to how you can take whatever we do in Selenium IDE into WebDriver and start your practice through it. It will also help you when you go independently on Selenium WebDriver without having to work with IDE, how we're going to go about on that. So this document has all those features. So each of you have received this. I do know that some of team, is my voice breaking for anyone? So when you're saying it's breaking, is it like chopping, static chopping, or is it more of a wind or anything on the back? Is it okay now? Okay, so it was chopping earlier, it was a little bad, but now it's good, right? Yes, cool, great. Thank you so much, team. So now we're good to go with the audio. So let's continue. So Manoj did send you this document, team. So please take a note. It talks very very elaborately about how you get your C# .NET bindings to work with Selenium WebDriver, how you start a project, and how you associate it with your NuGet package manager, and how we can take the code that we generate in Selenium C# to be able to work with it. So team, today's focus is primarily around this. How do we do the programming in Selenium IDE without having to do a record and run at all? Okay, so let's go back to the fundamentals team. There are two portions to automation testing. You remember? There is a what and there is a where. Now, when I say what do you think is what and what do you think is where? What are these two things? These are fundamental, most important aspects, team. This is the most important crux. Once we get through this, everything else will become very simple and easy for us. What is the what and what is the where in automation? Can someone help me answer, please? When I say what in automation and where in automation? I'm waiting for the answers in the Q&A, please. Meanwhile, just a quick question while I'm seeing the guys, I want you all to participate. You are here spending your time and effort. It's a lot of thing. It's a lot of commitment. So please focus in listening to this. I know it's a free demo for a few of you, but it's important for you to participate. Even though if it is free, there's a lot of learning that you could achieve through it. So I'm asking as to what and where. What do they signify in the world of automation testing? Subhashni, yes, we have to do it for every new project. The bindings, it is just like how we did it in Selenium using C# with core Java, JUnit or TestNG, because every new project we had to tell how, what kind of a build or archive files, jar files we have to add to it. It is a very similar concept. Yes, what means what is the activity that we want to perform, and where means the address of that specific element. Everything that you see in a website are looked at like elements. For example, in the simple page that we see, you see login as the only button. You don't see anything else significantly that you can work on. Yes, we have an image, and yes, we have interactive app for training as a text, and we have login as a button. So when people click on login, they have to enter information. But each of this have specific activities as to what we want to do and where we want to perform. So if I have to say what to the first step here, what will it be, team? Go into interact.com/app and ensure you have been logged out. So we have not yet programmed the ensure you've been logged out, but how do we take care of the first step otherwise? What is the command for it? Open, correct? How do you know it's open? Because we did a recording run earlier, so we are aware of it now. Now, what is the, where is it that, or what information do you provide for this? The web address, http://www.interact.com/app. This is where you want it to navigate. Lot of times you will see that this is information is already there, so we don't have to worry, but we are putting this so we know exactly where we're going. All right. Now, how do we click on the login button, team? What is the command that will perform to click on the login button? Who can help me answer this? Oops, I charged it the whole day and it's come back to 6%. Click and wait. So team, I'm going to keep this sheet open for you all to see while I go grab a charger quickly. So while I do that, can you make sure that you get an answer for what and where for all of these on this sheet, please? What is it that we want to do and where is it that we're going to do? Give me a second. Sorry guys, I'm back. All right, I think we're good with the battery right now. So the next one is click on login button. So what do we do here, team? Is it click or click and wait? All this is kind of a repeat of what we did, team. It's a great summary for the people who haven't attended. What we're trying to do is put it into an Excel sheet first to understand what is it that we want to do, really get very well planned, and then we'll try and put it back into Selenium ID and see how it will work, right? So we want to click, correct? Is it click or is there a better command for us? It's click and wait. Why click and wait, team? Because once you click on login button, you will notice that we have to go there and wait for the new page to load. And that is the reason we need to do click and wait. So to do click and wait, we know what to do right now. Where do we perform this? We can either perform it saying that login is a button and it's got certain things, or we can do a pure XPath. Now, if I take this simple notepad and I say, how does an XPath format look for us to identify elements? 2 slashes, then HTML tag, open brackets, at attribute name equals single tags attribute value. In this case, we didn't bother about conditions where the elements have same attribute names and values. We have to look at it by location or look at something more better ways to identify them. But this is the simple format for how an XPath looks. So XPath is basically the identification. It is like saying what is your phone number or your social security number. We know they follow a specific pattern. Or your email address. What is the format for email address? There is something called alpha numeric at domain name dot domain extension, right? So you'll always see that there's alphanumeric. It can be numbers, characters, and specific characters and so on, and the alphabets, then at, and then domain name, and then domain extension. Similarly, your XPath also has this. Is it important for each of us to master element identification as part of being an awesome automation test engineer team? Is it mandatory? No, correct. You don't really have to. Why? Because you can happily right click here and say, hey, you know what? I want to just inspect element using Firebug or just inspect element. What does right click and inspect element does, team? When you right click on this login element and you scroll down and say inspect element with Firebug, what would it do? It would open up the entire HTML code. So when the automation testing happens, the tools which do automation testing go through that HTML code and use certain information to identify it. All right. And that becomes critical for us to take and say that this is the identification. So element identification is one of the most critical aspects for automation testing, and the fact that you understand how you can get that identification. So now for this, how do I get the identification? If you just look at this statement, I don't know if I can copy the whole thing. Okay, I got this. Now I want each of you to help me create an XPath for this. All right. So 2 slashes. Then what is the HTML tag in this case? It is A. Then open square brackets, take an attribute name. I have two attributes here, class and href. I can use either of them. So let's say I use class equals single quotes, because we may need double quotes elsewhere. So that's why we start with single quotes. Intro hyphen login. End of single quotes, end of square brackets. This is the XPath for this. Are we sure about it? We are not. What do? We go in and we test it out using our Selenium IDE at this time. So each of you can see that Selenium IDE has been installed under Tools Selenium IDE, or you can go directly to seleniumhq.org and download Selenium for your Firefox team. All right. So let me launch Selenium IDE now. I'll go back to the old option. Okay, so here I just want to put the value of the text path and see if it can find it. All right. One second. So I have my window here and I have my window here, team. I know I'm going through the same thing again, team, but this is very, very important for everyone to capture. That's why. So I have find out here as a button, which should tell me if it is able to find. So as I click on it, you will see that it is able to locate that element. And you can also make sure that the log has nothing. If it doesn't have anything that is important, for example, in login, I missed to put the O in it and say find, you will see the log says locator not found. So in this case, we did find the locator and this is what it is. So I'm going to do a copy and go back to our sheet out here and say, this is where we need to click. We as humans can see it, but for automation testing tools to really see where to click and wait because it is going to load a page, we need this information. The next one is once we click on login, how do we enter the email address or the username and the password? So I'm going to again inspect element with Firebug. And here is the complete one for it. Okay. So team, as soon as I copy, I want to take 20 seconds and give it to you to try and help me out in giving the XPath for this. I'm not going to do it myself. You do it and I'll tell you why, which is the good way to go from it. So while you all are trying to practice on giving the XPath to me for this one, I have a question from Anil which says, why do you want to use XPath when other identifiers are available, which are easy for us to learn? Right, exactly. So it is easy, team. For example, when you go swimming, it is very easy for me to give you a life jacket or give you a floaters or give you a safety tube and say, go swim. But the idea is how do you get to identify XPaths in the most critical aspects becomes important. That is the reason I am pushing you all in the harder way than the easier way as of now. The fundamentals very slowly, but the harder way. I'm not giving you the easiest solutions as of now. All right. So in this case, I have with what is the element identification. Guys, is everyone else sleeping in this class? If you don't want to attend, you're more than welcome to get out of it, guys. Seriously. If you're not interested, there's a simple button there saying exit the meeting. You can leave. Do not disrespect your own time. Do not disrespect why you're here today. Only if you're keen at learning, please stay on. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to get out. I am asking a question saying generate an XPath and I just get about 10-15 replies. What are others doing? Either you've not learned, you're not interested, or you don't want to be here. I'm going to note team going forward who's replying, who's not. If you do not answer my question, it is better for you not to attend this session. You can as well watch the videos, correct? So very disappointing, guys, to see very few answers. I'm asking the questions and no one is. I'm going to note the next time I don't see the answers from the next session, I'm going to ask you to get out of the class, and that's about it. So I see a few options, but let's see which one is right. What is the HTML tag in this case? Input. That we know. Open square brackets at attribute name. What do we use? I have ID, class, type, autocomplete, required, data error, placeholder, and name. I can use any of this. It is like saying attributes like sex, is it male or female? Age, what is the age? Or address, or first name, last name, and so on. Like humans have attributes, so do the web elements, and we are trying to see which one is the right one. So here I'm going to say at ID equals single quotes user underscore login. Is there anything else I can use? Sure. It doesn't have to be that always you have to use certain things. Let's say that, we have a conference or this whole team is there. How many people are there from, let's say, Los Angeles as a place? And we may see just one person. It's enough to identify, okay, that person is from Los Angeles. So I can say Mr. Los Angeles or Miss Los Angeles. It's easy for me to reference, correct? But similarly, in this case also, you can use anything that you want. I can also use type or class form control. Let's say a class equals form hyphen control. This should work too. Why shouldn't this work? So I copy this whole thing and put it in the IDE. Oops. Tough switching between a Windows and a Mac. The reason I'm doing Windows is because of Visual Studio, and I also need a new Mac now. And I'm going to say fine. What comes here, team? Why doesn't it find the email address that I have here? What is the cost for it? Something is wrong out here, right? Okay, maybe I should use a different attribute, correct? How many of you know the answer to the issue? So the ones who have answered, that's fine, team. Let me mention you that's deliberate. I saw it, but I ignored it. But I want to say, are you really testers or not? Do you really have the testing ability in you or not? Or are you just faking it? The people who answered saying, I don't know, I am very proud of you because at least you're open. Remember this, team. With me, with so much of industry experience and having worked with so many IT professionals globally, I see who's a fake and who's a true effort maker. And the minute I see a fake who's trying to prove something rather than being fundamentals, it just disheartens me, and they're almost on the way out by then. You have to stand up. You have to take your stance and say, I will make mistakes, and it is okay to make mistakes, but I'll make that effort to grow up in life, to really build up my career. I wonder really why there's so many participants, only few of you really replying. So if you're listening to this, get up, take your stance. Do not be proud of yourself even if you're the best automation test engineer. Listen and take inspiration as to what others are doing, how we need to work hard, please. So in this case, I got answers from most of them. Look at the format, team, and look at what's missing. That is enough. The format, as you see, says HTML tag, open square brackets, at attribute name equals single quote start, attribute value, single quote end, end of the square brackets. What do we have here? Slash slash input, open square brackets at attribute name equals form under hyphen control, end of single quote, end of square brackets. Where is the start of single quote? It is missing. That's it. You didn't even have to go here. The expert is one who is able to recognize a mistake even before they put that into their script or programming or the documentation. Now can it find it? Perfect. So I got it for this. Always remember team, I may start slow, but as we keep going, you'll see how we pick up speed and so on. At this point, what is it that I want to do? Type is the command, correct? Type what, where we know what is type, but what is the information? For this, I need test data and I already have it. Next one, password. Password also will type. Now let's see which one. Inspect element with Firebug. We've got this whole thing. Control C. Some of you would have recognized what kind of a mistake I already will make. So now I will use the same thing as I used earlier, class. Okay, so input, open square brackets at class equals single quotes form hyphen control, right? We can use the same thing because that one was for username. This is for password. So I copy this whole thing and I take it back into Selenium ID. I'll put it here. And which one will it point to now? The password. The username I already finished. The password, right? Why will it identify username? Password is what it should identify, correct? The second one. I see both have the same class. No, I don't think so. Let's find. It says none. None of it is correct, it seems. Why? Do I have an extra space or something here? I do. Now I'll say find. Hey, you're right. It still says username. Why does it say username? Both have the same class. Okay. So both have the same class. Then why only username? Why can't it say password? Because Selenium ID is picking the first element which meets its criteria. If you want it to pick up the next element which it meets its criteria, we have to give another identification or we have to say which number of it. Okay. Typically earlier we used to just have to say 1 or 2 in here and it used to be able to find it. But I'm not sure if it's going to work in this case. Let's see. No, see, for 2, it gets a little cranky out here. Um, but once we get to the script level, it will become easy for us to. So this is not working. This is not the XPath. Why? Selenium will use the identification to identify the first element that it finds. So in this case, it's not the first element. Then what do? We can use ID, we can use type, we can use autocomplete and so on. It's like, we have an audience of training members in a classroom and we see 30 people in here. One is from Los Angeles. Suddenly someone else is also from Los Angeles who's not been answering so far. And then whenever I say Los Angeles, both are lifting the name. Or the first one is lifting, the second one is still silent. So now I'll use a phone number or I'll use an email address. In this case, I can just say ID is user underscore pass and let's see if that works. / input square brackets at ID equals single quotes user underscore pass. And team, I want you to get very comfortable with writing the XPath. Alright, that becomes very critical for each of us. So Control C and then Control B. We've got this. It's almost 40 minutes, 50 minutes into the class officially, team. Let me try and quickly do this. Now click on login button. So click on and wait. So where do we click now? We're going to click on this. So remember we did the record and run and so on. Now we're not going to do that. We will go directly into doing this. So click and wait. So right click, inspect elements with Firebug, and let's see if we can take this as is. Button class equals submit. Slash slash button, open square brackets at class equals single quote submit. And let's say find. Are we able to find it? It is actually finding it. It is giving it a yellow background to log in, but it's not able to show it out here, team, for us. The reason I'm seeing is in the Firebug under the HTML code, team, you're able to see what the value is coming out here. Okay, so this looks good. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it here. And then confirm logged in. So now we have to confirm logged in. So had we entered this information and I say login, this has gone into my trainer account, not the trainee account. And if I see, for example, a logout link, that's enough. So anyways, we don't have to worry about that as of now. The script is ready. Now, how do we take this and put it out here? So you just cannot copy this and put it there as is, I guess, because honestly, team, I'm not an expert with Firebug, with Selenium ID. I go immediately into Selenium WebDrive, but I started here and I want everyone to start here. Paste, no, insert new command, execute. So if I take an option, look at the format, I can do it, save test case as. This comes, if you notice, team, as a HTML document. So I'm going to show you how it looks. Can we combine two or more attributes? Absolutely yes. You can combine and you will need to, and that is why I want you all to watch those videos, because for element identification it's going to show you all the varieties of doing it. Okay, so this is how the sample code looks. So if you right click and say view page source, it will say like this. See what TRTD is basically the row name, column name. In this case there's nothing in this. So if I had said that the first command is open and then I copy the next one from here, target, and I put it out here. Okay, and the second command is click and wait, and this is the one for it. I'll say click, oops, click and wait, and here it is. And the next one is type, and here is the XPath for it. Type, and here's the XPath. The next one also is type. The XPath is this. Finally click and wait again, and here is the XPath. Click and wait. The XPath. Now we have the entire test case. I'm going to try and do a slow run, team. I haven't in fact done the run so far on this new machine, but I'm going to try and do a slow run and see if it does it. It already has base URL as interrupt.com, so this may become a problem. It open browser. It is trying. See, it's still connecting. Unable to connect because I don't think. Guys, are you all there with me? Oops. Can you guys hear me now? I think I lost you all for a minute. Yes, you can hear me, team, because it doesn't show that it's come back. Even the test case kind of failed when I was trying to do this. So it looks like you're able to hear me. I'm going to try and rerun this. Let's see what happens. So it is navigating. It is going to interrupt.com. Now what happened out here, team, when I do this? What happened to the test run? Can someone tell me? The greens and reds, they're so simple for any layman to understand. Systems, tools, process, everything has been created to help us. It has not been created to confuse us. Please remember that. If it has been created to help us, they make specific sense. And here it says green that it could go to interrupt.com/app. What happened to click and wait? Why didn't it work? Because we were not logged out of the session. It didn't find the login. So let's log out. Let's help the tool out and see. What about the ones in the white right now? The gray is the one that I'm highlighting by clicking on it. But what about the ones in the white? They're the ones which we have not run yet. All right. So lot of times one of the good ways is to make sure that you close the app or you log out from the application and so on, or just close the entire browser sessions, team. Guys, can you still hear me? Because looks like audio is going in and out for me. Yeah, I don't know why audio is choppy. I'm doing it back from the US, but okay. So I'm going to rerun this. Now it's gone to the app. It's going to click on login. It's going to enter username. It's going to enter password. Yay! Please fill out this field. How come no one in the team reminded me that we did not put a value? How come, guys? Did any one of you tell me that there's not just command target but there's also a value? None of you ever told me, guys, or I missed it out totally. You won't believe, team, even I missed it. Even I forgot about it. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say here, everyone? Why did it fail right now? Oh God, I don't know why it's going in and out. Let me know once you can hear me back, please. Okay, now you can hear me. What did we miss, team? Why is the error coming? How did we miss the values? In fact, I was looking at it. It was very surprising that none of you told me. Even more surprising that even I forgot about it. I honestly totally forgot about putting the value. Otherwise, I would have asked you before running itself, saying that, you know what, something else is missing. Or you told. So one person told. I don't know who else told. Anil did tell. Maybe because audio was getting choppy. Simran Pal Singh. That's funny. Yeah, how could we miss it, right, guys? So we need to enter something. We need to enter a value for the username and the password. So what do we enter for the username? Each of you have your values, team, your default things. I'm not going to use mine because once I use mine, people are going to give it to me. So let me use someone else's, please, if I can. can one of the audience members be kind enough to share the username and password with me, which is the default password? It doesn't have to be the regular one. And then when you log in, you try and change it again, please. Okay, I'm going to take Amit. Simran Pal Singh is saying atomic. You're funny, my friend. I like it. I like humor, guys. Humor is one thing which will keep people listening into a conversation. You know, I heard somewhere very recently, let's say you're going for a long ride, right? And you feel sleepy because you're behind the wheel and you're feeling sleepy. You can have your Red Bull, you can have your coffee, you can try and put the windows down. It doesn't really keep you awake. The best way to stay awake, I believe someone said, and I'm going to try sometime, is listen to some comedy episodes or stand-up comedy things. So I believe when you listen to comedy or when you're laughing, you can never fall asleep. So I'm going to try that. So I got Amit, but Amit, you didn't give me the password. The first one who gave me both are Sharmin Akhtar and the password. So Sharmin, I'm going to take yours. Thank you so much. Sharmin. Bhavani, since you changed your password, I'll not take that. I'll take the ones which are regular. All right. So guys, I believe we're going slow. I'm not denying that. Before anyone else tells this, I know we're going slow, but that is okay from my side. The idea is to master everything correctly and learn it properly, team, rather than hurrying up. And these are the times. And as we go along, you'll see that it does get much faster. So right now we put in that information. Let's try and run this test case again, team. So I put it slow. I'll take it a medium fast. Sorry guys. Yeah. I think whenever I'm running the script, it is going off. Did you notice, team? Whenever I run the script on Selenium IDE, my GoToWebinar is getting disconnected. That is the observation I made. Do you think so as well? Yeah. So you can expect it to happen again, but then at least we probably are right about it. Now, to fix this, I have to talk to both GoToWebinar and Selenium ID, which looks like an impossible task, but it never used to happen on the Mac. So great. So you can see all the four messages. The one that Manoj sent, then I sent, and again I sent one. Manoj one more saying hello trainee, more like a test, and the one I sent a few hours earlier today. Right? So all these messages have come here. So each of you are able to log in and see these messages like this. So the test is correct. So now we can also make sure that notifications, does it go to notifications automatically, team? Yes, it does, right? I mean, notifications is the first landing page. So I can see here, I can't put a clause on Charmin, SLD demo. Even this I can test. Inspect element with Firebug or show all available commands. And I want to verify if this text is there, right? I want to verify if this text is there. So all I did is right click on this. You will see all the commands that Selenium provides and you can take one and just pick it up. Now this I moved it here. So I'll cut this from here and put it at the end. And we're going to verify that this text appears after we click on the submit button. Now this test case seems to be ready, team. Team, I know it's already 8:30, no, 7:30 in Pacific time zone. Okay, log out. You know what? We'll add one more button, team, at the end saying click on log out. How do we do that? Very simple. Uh, Inspect element with Firebug. Here, click and wait. And the option is A. Class is add new. Bad class name, but that's okay for us as long as it works. equals single quotes add underscore new. Did I make an immature mistake out here? Immature mistake, team? Any mistake in this XPath before I click on find? Genuine mistake. But before I could run it, I found it. So I want to see how many of you found it. Space I don't think is needed. It doesn't look that there's space. Open brace, there's no open brace. I have open square brackets, open single quotes, and the ending also. Logout is missing. I don't need logout team. I don't need to see what is here. If I see what is there in the script, more than enough. Why? Because Selenium as a tool looks into the HTML code. Even if it has to see logout here, it will go and see for the logout word out here, not there. So if you click on this and expand it, you will see this. So at is a symbol that is missing. Why? Because at says what is the attribute. So you want to make sure that that is there. Now let's click on find. There you go. So now if I run this test faster, let's see how it will run. Oops, I still have to log out. I didn't log out the first time. Yes. Now let's try. Even this I don't want. I'm going to run now. Perfect. It logged in and it logged out, right? And the verified text also is a pass. How do we know that the verified text is a pass? Because we're verifying something. All of the other commands are just executing something, correct? The verify command is, how do we know it's different way it's pass? That it did pass. And I did not get chopped out this time. Yes, my Simran Pal Singh, my humor manager in the show. Lovely. I don't know why it didn't, but good. Run is pass. So run is pass, that's good. But how do I know that the verified text is pass? So for the verified text, for example, here I say instead of Charmin SLT demo, I'll remove the SLT and I run it again now. Now it says run is done, but it's a failure as well. Correct? But it did complete the entire execution of the test and it says where it failed. But even without that, even if I said SLT space, you would notice that the run might still run correctly, but how do you know? It's a pass team. There's a specific way for us to know that. Sorry, 1 second, please. So now how do we know team? Because it's a darker green. See, light green's dark green. Everything else is a light green, but this one is darker green. And that is how we need to build our test cases to be able to mention which is a correct run, which is not a correct run. Okay? Alright team. So now we've got this test case, just the one, right? So I'm going to save this before I lose it. Save test case as, and I'm going to call this as IF. Should we give it a specific name? What is the name that we should give this? Login underscore test underscore interact or interact. did not see the last click and wait do anything. Last click and wait actually logged us out, Simranpal. So Subhashni Ravindra, you said interact, login underscore in text underscore interact. What is that? We already have a test case name, guys. Why do you have to reinvent everything again? Follow the standard. It's called iaft underscore tc underscore 001. We're going to use that name. So when I want to save this, this is what I'll put it as. And I'll leave it here. It says save. Now, this is saved. Where is it saved? In our local machine out here. Like this. Now, when I open it, do you see this? This opens up like a table in your browser. Your Selenium ID can understand how to run this on the browser. Now, if I want to use it using C# or I want to use it using Java or JUnit or TestNG or any other languages that Selenium as an automation testing tool provides, it will not be in the same format. It will be in a different format. How will we get that format? That format is very simple, team. First, you go to options, click on options. Make sure that you have the enable experimental features on. That is the only time it will show you the other formats. Now go back to options and click on format and you'll see the different formats that currently Selenium supports. C#, Java, Python, Ruby. So these are the 4 languages that it supports. So Selenium started with one of the biggest things saying that, you know what, we'll not just do it on one programming language. People may want to use different programming language. The output must be the same. So how do we do it? And that is why it gave so many formats to us. Now, in this case, options, format, I take the C# NUnit WebDriver. And it'll again say make sure that that experimental feature is on because they're not promising to say that the code will come out correctly, and that is totally okay because we're going to take the code, put it into C# and look at it. Now this is the source code for the same code in C#, much more complex looking and much more lengthier than the simple one here. As long as we stick with the basic fundamental uh, tests, right? This looks not really necessary, but as we go along, you will see that it becomes very important. So let me try and reduce the font size a little bit so we can see it clearly. Okay, now it looks much better to handle. All right, it starts from here, team, the C# code. Okay, it talks about something called as a using as a keyword which says what is it that we need to use to for the C# in your Visual Studio to understand what this code is all about. It is just like your import feature in Selenium with Java, for those of you know it. And then it says something called namespace and the name that it's Selenium test. And then there's something called as test fixture. There's a public class, blah, blah, blah. There's a setup for the test. Then there's a teardown and there's the actual test here. Just like how we see at before, at after and at test using our Selenium WebDriver with JUnit or even TestNG for that matter. And here is where the main code is. It says driver, we don't know what it is yet. Navigate to so-and-so URL. This we know. Then it says find element by using XPath, and this is the XPath. And we click here. Then we enter some information here. We say send those keys there. So the type command became send keys. So as a layman who does not know programming, we are able to understand each and every command in a very simple fashion. But we really haven't got to the stage where we can write our own code. To become a very good programmer, here the few steps in. First, learn to read the code and understand what it does. What step does what. Just like we have our IDE code out here. Let's go back to the other option HTML. what each line does. We have to understand each line what it does in this specific code. The second one is try and make small changes to the existing code. You're not writing new code at all. Third is write your own code from scratch. So we start ground up and we start writing our own code. Fourth one is repeat this with more complex examples. These four simple steps, team, will make sure that you become an awesome programmer and you will love it. You will truly, totally love this. There is no more better way. But the first thing is to learn to read the code, and that is what we will do. Now, as of now, team, I am assuming that most of you have no knowledge of programming or even C# for that matter, or any kind of a programming language. That is our assumption. How do we get you there? The way we plan to do this is we're gonna run 3 sessions on C# programming by our other trainer called Kiran. He's a C# .NET expert. He's been doing training with ITeLearn to make sure that people are able to pick up that from a development standpoint. He's going to help us as test engineers to understand the basic concepts of programming using C#. And once we do that, it is going to be very easy for us to come back and put that into our WebDriver concepts and learn it. So the next 3 sessions will focus on it. We do have one more break. Some of us, fortunately, some of us not. But the break is primarily to make sure that a few of you are still attending the demo. So we want to make sure that everyone has got a good chance to go through what we've done, see some videos on element identification, especially around XPath or CSS, and then you're able to really participate going forward. If you have more plenty of time, then I would recommend you to go to the core Java tutorials as well. It's always good because programming is same. It's just the syntax and format that changes. So the approach will be the same. So the next session, team, is on Thursday and Friday, and Kiran will be running those sessions to give us the overview on C#, how we install Visual Studio, how we get that running, how do we run our tests, and what are the basics of programming that we will require. Then we will take those learnings along with Selenium WebDriver and implement it much more aggressively within our training. That's the plan. All right. Any questions, please? So when does the Selenium plus Java start? It will start maybe in a month or so. But what we can do is, what we've done at ITeLearn is it was not easy for us to say that choose C# or Java. We're giving both going forward. So someone who's already paid for Selenium with Java will have access to the Selenium with C#. And if you pay for Selenium with C#, you'll also get the Java. So you have the opportunity to learn both. Focus on one. Try and be good at one. You can also mention the other one in your profile saying that I have basics of it. So even if you apply to a job where you learn Java but they have C#, you have a good opportunity to get through. Hi Karthik, the Selenium training will also be with C# only or with Java also. Like I said, this one is with C#, but we also have the Java coming up. You're part of both. So Selenium training today is with Java and or C#, the same thing for us. Where can I find WebDriver and Visual Studio download document? So Mehboob, all the instructions have been sent by email. I will have my team send once again, but they're sent to the people who have confirmed for the remaining portions of the training, and it will be there. Could you please share details on how to install Visual Studio? The email sent by Manoj has details on how to install WebDriver and Visual Studio. Yes, so Visual Studio is very simple, team. You just have to go and search on Google. Visual Studio Community. Community Edition, and you can click on the first link that you get. and you can download it out here. It's as simple as that. I'll also put it in chat so you all have access to it. One second. So many chat messages out here. So Manoj would have shared this installation also. I'm not sure why he didn't. I'll check with him as well. I believe Manoj is also here. Send to all. Manoj, are you there?
Hi Karthik, yeah, I'm here.
Okay. All right, Manoj. So the Visual Studio download instruction that we remember we created for the corporate training, the version of that, we need to share it again with the team. Can you please kindly do that? But again, like I told team, this is how it is. It's as simple as it looks. Which day explains about XPath. So even that, Manoj, I don't know if everyone got it. That we can send to all. What are the prerequisites that we're expecting for the people to look at? Which recorded sessions explains about XPath? Yes, Suresh. So there was one specific set of 2 or 3 or so sessions which does that on element identification using XPath and CSS. We can do that. All right, team, that's about it for today. We'll see you back in the next session. It's on Thursday. You will get communications both go through GoToWebinar and through Interact. So you should be able to look at that communication and be able to react based on that. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a great evening, morning, afternoon, where you are, and we'll see you back for the next few sessions. Thank you all. God bless. Bye.